She walked into her prenatal checkup excited for her future, only to walk out and catch her husband betraying her. But just when she thought she was alone, her billionaire brother arrived. And what happened next left everyone speechless. Mia's heart raced with excitement as she stepped into the doctor's office for her routine prenatal checkup. At 6 months pregnant, she was beginning to feel the full weight of the journey ahead, but it was a burden she carried with joy. The tiny flutters of life growing inside her reminded her every day that she was about to step into a new chapter, motherhood. She gently rested her hand on her belly as she smiled at the nurse behind the reception desk. "Mrs. Dawson, Dr. Patel is ready for you," the nurse said, offering a kind smile. Mia nodded, gripping her purse tighter as she walked into the examination room. The walls were adorned with pastel-colored artwork of mothers holding their newborns, a picture of love and warmth. It made her heart swell with emotion. This baby was a dream come true, and she had been counting down the days until she could finally hold her child in her arms. As she lay back on the examination table, Dr. Patel applied the cool gel to her belly and began the ultrasound. The rhythmic thump of the baby's heartbeat filled the room, and Mia let out a small, emotional sigh. "Everything looks perfect," Dr. Patel reassured her. "Your baby is growing right on schedule." Mia beamed. "Thank you, doctor. That's all I wanted to hear today." She left the clinic feeling lighter than air. Her husband Ryan had promised to pick her up, but a last-minute text said he was caught up in a meeting. It wasn't unusual. As a financial consultant, Ryan's schedule was always packed. She didn't think much of it, and decided to grab herself a smoothie before heading home. As she walked into the quaint little cafe on the corner of the street, she reached into her purse to grab her card. That's when she saw the notification on her phone, an automated alert from their joint bank account. $4,500 charged at Le Jardin Rouge. Mia frowned. She knew that name. It was an upscale restaurant in the heart of the city, one that Ryan had always said was too extravagant for them to dine at. Her fingers hovered over the screen as she tapped on the transaction details. A dinner charge at an expensive restaurant, during the same time he had told her he was in a meeting. Her stomach twisted. Maybe it was a business dinner. She tried to reason with herself, but doubt was already creeping in. Ryan handled their finances, but she had insisted on receiving alerts for major transactions, a habit she picked up from her brother Liam, who always told her to keep an eye on things. Mia hesitated for a moment before she made a decision. She hailed a cab and gave the driver the address for Le Jardin Rouge. Her mind raced with possibilities, each one worse than the last. Maybe he was there with a client. Maybe it was a dinner for work. Maybe she was overthinking. But deep down, something in her gut told her otherwise. As the cab pulled up in front of the restaurant, Mia paid the fare and stepped out. The golden glow of the chandeliers inside flickered through the windows, illuminating the intimate tables where couples sat in hushed conversations over candlelight. She took a deep breath and walked inside, scanning the room. And then she saw him. Ryan sat at a corner table, his hand resting over another woman's. She was younger, beautiful, dressed in a silky red dress that clung to her body. But it wasn't the woman's beauty that made Mia's breath hitch. It was the way Ryan looked at her. Not like a man caught in an awkward business dinner. Not like someone uninterested, but like a man completely enraptured. Her heart pounded in her chest as she stood frozen at the entrance, unable to move, unable to breathe. Then, as if sensing her presence, Ryan looked up. Their eyes met across the restaurant. For a brief second, shock flickered in his expression. Then, just as quickly, it was gone, replaced by something colder. Annoyance, as if she were the one in the wrong. Mia took slow, measured steps toward them, the sound of her heels clicking against the polished floor echoing in her ears. She felt like she was walking in slow motion, every second stretching out unbearably. When she finally reached the table, the woman looked up, confused, glancing between Ryan and Mia. Ryan sighed, pushing back his chair as he stood up. "Mia, what are you doing here?" She blinked, barely able to process the audacity of his question. "What am I doing here?" she repeated, her voice quieter than she intended. "Ryan, who is she?" The woman shifted uncomfortably in her seat, clearly realizing she was caught in the middle of something. Ryan ran a hand through his hair and exhaled heavily. "Let's not do this here, Mia." That was all it took for something inside her to snap. "I'm pregnant with your child, and you're telling me not to do this here?" Her voice rose, raw and full of disbelief. "You've been lying to me, sneaking around behind my back, spending thousands on dinners while I sit at home waiting for you." By now, other diners had turned their heads, whispering amongst themselves. The woman at the table quickly grabbed her clutch and stood up, looking ready to flee. Mia felt her legs tremble beneath her, her hands shaking. She wanted to scream, to cry, to demand answers, but all she could do was stare at the man she had once trusted with her whole heart and wonder how she had missed the signs. Ryan's expression hardened, his lips curling with something close to disdain. "You're embarrassing yourself," he muttered under his breath, stepping closer so only she could hear. "Leave before you make this worse." Mia let out a sharp, bitter laugh. "Worse," she whispered, shaking her head. "Ryan, it's already worse. You made it that way." Tears pricked at her eyes, but she refused to let them fall. She turned on her heel and walked out of the restaurant, leaving behind the shattered pieces of the life she had thought was real. As she stepped out onto the sidewalk, gasping for air, her phone buzzed in her hand. Liam, her brother. She hesitated for a moment before answering. "Mia?" His deep voice was laced with concern. "You okay?" That was all it took. She broke down, sobbing into the phone. "Liam, I need you." There was silence on the other end. Then a calm, steady voice. "Where are you?" She sniffled, struggling to steady her breath. "Le Jardin Rouge." "Stay there, I'm coming." Mia's hands trembled as she ended the call, because if there was one thing she knew about her brother, it was this. When Liam Carter said he was coming, he meant it. Mia stood on the sidewalk outside Le Jardin Rouge, her arms wrapped tightly around herself as she tried to steady her breathing. The night air was cool, but she barely felt it. Her mind was reeling, her heart aching from the betrayal that had just unfolded before her eyes. How had she been so blind? How had she missed the signs? Every late-night meeting, every hushed phone call, every excuse about being too tired for dinner. Ryan had been cheating on her while she carried his child. The thought made her stomach turn, and she felt a sudden wave of nausea. She leaned against the stone railing near the entrance of the restaurant, inhaling deeply in an attempt to keep herself from collapsing right there on the pavement. A sleek black car pulled up to the curb, its headlights illuminating the street. The moment it stopped, the driver's side door swung open, and out stepped Liam Carter. Mia had always thought of her brother as an unstoppable force. He had an air of quiet authority that demanded respect, a sharp gaze that missed nothing. At 6'3", with a chiseled jawline and an impeccable sense of style, Liam exuded power and control in everything he did. But tonight, as he strode toward her, she saw something else in his eyes. Rage. The kind of rage that sent chills down her spine. Liam reached her in 3 long strides, his hands settling on her shoulders as he studied her face. His touch was firm but gentle, his gaze scanning her tear-streaked cheeks and trembling lips. "Mia," he said, his voice softer than she expected. "What happened?" Her bottom lip quivered. She wanted to tell him everything, but the words felt lodged in her throat. Liam exhaled sharply, his jaw tightening. He didn't need to hear her say it. He already knew. His gaze flickered toward the entrance of the restaurant. "Is he still inside?" Mia swallowed hard, her voice barely above a whisper. "Yes." Liam's expression darkened. "Stay here." Before she could protest, he was already moving. Mia turned to watch as her brother pushed open the doors to the restaurant, stepping inside with the same unwavering confidence that had made him one of the most powerful businessmen in the city. The room fell silent the moment he entered. Liam Carter was a name that carried weight. People knew who he was, the billionaire CEO of Carter Enterprises, the man whose sharp instincts and ruthless strategies had built an empire. Ryan must have known too, because when he spotted Liam striding toward him, the color drained from his face. The woman Ryan had been with was long gone, having disappeared the moment Mia had left. Now, he sat alone at the table, his hands gripping his glass of whiskey as if it could somehow save him from what was coming. Liam reached the table and slowly pulled out the chair across from Ryan, lowering himself into the seat with deliberate ease. He rested his elbows on the table, lacing his fingers together as he stared at the man before him. Ryan swallowed thickly. "Liam." Liam tilted his head slightly, his expression unreadable. "Ryan." Silence stretched between them. The tension in the air was suffocating, heavy with the weight of unspoken words. Ryan cleared his throat, trying to mask his nerves. "Listen, I don't know what Mia told you, but—" "Shut up." Ryan flinched. Liam's voice was quiet, but there was no mistaking the authority in it. "You're going to listen," Liam continued, his tone sharp. "And you're going to listen carefully." Ryan opened his mouth, then thought better of it and closed it again. Liam leaned forward, his piercing blue eyes locking onto Ryan's. You had the audacity to cheat on my sister, my pregnant sister. Do you have any idea what that means? Ryan's throat bobbed as he swallowed hard. Liam, Do not say her name, Liam cut him off. You don't deserve to. Ryan sat frozen in place, his fingers tightening around the glass. Liam tilted his head, studying him like he was a bug under a microscope. Tell me, Ryan, was it worth it? Ryan blinked. What? The affair. Liam's voice was deceptively calm. The lies, the sneaking around. Was it worth throwing away your entire life? Your marriage? Your child? Ryan's jaw clenched. You don't understand, Liam. My relationship with Mia? You think I care about your excuses? Liam scoffed. Let me be very clear about something, Ryan. My sister is done with you. You will not contact her. You will not try to manipulate her into staying. You will not beg for forgiveness because let me tell you something. Liam leaned in closer, his voice dropping to a deadly whisper. If you so much as breathe in her direction again, I will make sure you regret it. Ryan's face paled. Liam, come on. We can talk about this like… There is nothing to talk about, Liam interrupted coldly. You made your choice, and now you're going to live with it. Ryan opened his mouth to argue, but the look in Liam's eyes made him snap it shut. Liam slowly pushed back his chair and rose to his feet. You're finished, he said simply. Not just with Mia, but in every way that matters. Ryan frowned. What are you talking about? Liam smirked, but there was no humor in it. You really think I'd let a man like you continue living comfortably? You're a financial consultant, right? Well, let's just say that by tomorrow morning, no firm in this city will be willing to work with you. Ryan's eyes widened in horror. You can't do that. Liam shrugged. I can and I will. He turned and strode away, leaving Ryan sitting there, speechless. Outside, Mia was still standing where he had left her. The moment she saw Liam emerge from the restaurant, she straightened, her eyes searching his face for answers. Liam approached her and gently placed a hand on her shoulder. It's over, he said simply. Mia swallowed the lump in her throat. What did you do? Liam sighed. Let's just say he won't be bothering you again. Tears welled up in Mia's eyes. She wasn't sure if they were from relief or exhaustion, but the moment Liam pulled her into a tight embrace, she let them fall. I've got you, Liam murmured. You're not alone in this, Mia. You never were. And for the first time that night, Mia finally let herself believe it. Mia sat in the passenger seat of Liam's car, her fingers absent-mindedly tracing circles over her stomach. The reality of the night's events was finally sinking in, and with it came a mix of emotions so overwhelming she didn't know whether to cry or scream. Ryan was gone. Her marriage was over. She should have felt heartbroken, but all she felt was empty. Liam sat beside her, his hands gripping the steering wheel as he navigated through the city streets. The silence between them was thick, filled with unspoken words and lingering emotions. Finally, Liam spoke. You're coming with me. Mia blinked, turning to face him. What? You're not staying in that house, Liam said firmly. Not another night. You'll stay with me. Mia hesitated. Liam, I can't just… Yes, you can. His voice was gentle but unyielding. You're my sister, Mia, and I'm not letting you go through this alone. Mia swallowed the lump in her throat. She wanted to argue, to tell him that she was fine, that she could handle it. But the truth was, she wasn't fine. She was exhausted. And for once, she didn't want to be strong. So she nodded. Okay. Liam exhaled, relief flashing across his face. Good. The rest of the drive was quiet, the only sound coming from the faint hum of the radio. When they finally arrived at Liam's penthouse, Mia stepped out of the car and took in the familiar sight of the towering building. Liam had lived here for years, yet she had rarely visited. He had always been busy. She had always been caught up in her own life. But now, things were different. Liam led her inside, the sleek modern design of his home offering a stark contrast to the chaos swirling inside her mind. Guest room is yours, he said, nodding toward the hallway. Bathroom stocked with everything you'll need. If you're hungry, I'll have something made. Mia turned to him, her lips pressing together as emotion threatened to overwhelm her. Liam. He met her gaze, his expression softening. Thank you, she whispered. Liam's jaw tightened. You don't have to thank me, Mia. But she did. Because in a single night, Liam had done what no one else had ever done for her. He had fought for her. and she would never forget it. The next morning, Mia woke up to the smell of fresh coffee. For a moment, she forgot where she was. Then everything came rushing back. Ryan, the affair, Liam. She exhaled deeply, rubbing her hands over her face before pushing herself out of bed. When she stepped into the living room, Liam was already there, dressed in a crisp suit, scrolling through his phone. He glanced up when he saw her. "Morning." Mia managed a small smile. "Morning." Liam nodded toward the kitchen. "Made you breakfast." She raised an eyebrow. "You cooked?" Liam smirked. "Number, but my chef did." Mia let out a soft laugh, shaking her head. "Of course." As she sat down at the table, Liam poured her a cup of coffee, sliding it toward her. For a moment, neither of them spoke. Then Liam leaned back in his chair, his sharp gaze studying her. "So," he said, "what's the plan?" Mia frowned. "Plan? For moving forward." Mia swallowed. She had no idea. She had spent so much time building a life with Ryan, only for it to crumble in an instant. Now she was starting over, and she didn't even know where to begin. Liam must have noticed her hesitation because he leaned forward, his expression serious. "You don't have to figure everything out right now," he said, "but you do need to start thinking about what you want." Mia exhaled. "I don't even know what that is." Liam was quiet for a moment before he spoke again. "You used to love designing." Mia blinked. "What?" "Before Ryan," Liam continued. "You had dreams, Mia. You wanted to start your own business, create your own brand, but you gave it all up for him." Mia felt her chest tighten. He wasn't wrong. She had always been passionate about interior design. It was what she had studied, what she had once envisioned her future revolving around. But then she had met Ryan, and somewhere along the way, she had lost herself. Liam's voice softened. "It's not too late to get that back." Mia looked down at her coffee, her thoughts swirling. Could she really start over? Did she even have it in her? As if sensing her doubts, Liam spoke again. "I'll help you." Mia looked up, her eyes searching his. "Liam, I mean it," he said. "If you want to start your own business, I'll back you. Whatever you need, I'll make it happen." Emotion swelled in Mia's chest. Liam had always been the protector, the one who took care of everything. But this was more than that. This was him believing in her. And for the first time in a long time, she felt something other than pain. Hope. Mia took a deep breath, her fingers tightening around the coffee cup. "Okay," she said softly, "let's do it." A slow smile tugged at Liam's lips. "Good," he said, "because I already have a few ideas." Mia spent the next few days adjusting to life at Liam's penthouse. The luxurious space was a world away from the home she had shared with Ryan, but despite the comfort and security, the emotional weight of her situation still clung to her like a second skin. Each morning she woke up with the same gnawing question. What now? Liam had given her a chance, a fresh start, but could she really rebuild from the ground up? On the fourth morning, she found herself sitting at the dining table, staring at the blank notebook in front of her. She had been jotting down ideas for her design business, but every time she tried to form a concrete plan, doubt crept in. Liam, who had been quietly sipping his coffee across from her, finally spoke. "You're overthinking." Mia looked up. "I just don't know where to start." Liam leaned forward, setting his coffee down. "Then start small. What kind of clients do you want? What's your brand vision?" Mia sighed. "I used to know. Before Ryan, before everything. Now, I don't know who I am anymore." Liam's expression softened. "Mia, you're not defined by him. You never were." She looked down at the notebook, the blank pages mocking her. "You were always talented," Liam continued. "Even before you got married, people loved your work. You just need to remember that." Mia took a deep breath. Maybe he was right. Maybe it was time to take the first step. Later that day, Liam arranged a meeting for her with a well-known branding consultant. They sat in the sleek conference room of one of his office buildings, a stark contrast to the uncertainty Mia felt inside. "So, tell me about your vision," the consultant Elise said with a warm smile. Mia hesitated before answering. "I want to create something elegant, timeless, interior design that feels like home, but also unique to each client." Elise nodded. "That's a great start. Have you thought about a name for your brand?" Mia's fingers tightened around the notebook in her lap. A name. For years she had set aside her passion, allowing Ryan's needs and ambitions to overshadow her own. But this was hers. A slow smile formed on her lips. Rooted Design Studio, she said softly. Liam raised an eyebrow. Rooted. Mia nodded. Because no matter what happens, no matter how much life changes, home should always be a place where you feel grounded. Elise smiled. I love it. It's personal, meaningful. Liam glanced at Mia, something unreadable in his expression. Then let's make it happen. The next few weeks were a whirlwind. Liam wasted no time setting Mia up with the best resources. He connected her with investors, branding experts, and even an office space in one of his properties. At first, the sheer speed of it all was overwhelming, but Mia slowly found herself stepping into the role she had once dreamed of. Rooted Design Studio was officially coming to life. One evening, after an exhausting day of meetings, Mia sat on the penthouse balcony, staring out at the city skyline. The weight of everything pressed down on her. Ryan's betrayal, the divorce, the uncertainty of the future. She had spent so long defining herself by someone else's love. Now, for the first time, she was standing on her own. Liam joined her, handing her a glass of water before leaning against the railing. You okay? Mia let out a breath. I don't know. Liam smirked. That's an improvement from, I don't know where to start. She chuckled, shaking her head. For a while they stood in silence, the cool night air wrapping around them. Then Liam spoke, his voice quieter than usual. You're stronger than you think, Mia. She turned to him, surprised by the rare moment of vulnerability. You really believe that? She asked. Liam met her gaze. I always have. A lump formed in Mia's throat. She had spent so much of her life feeling like a shadow in someone else's story. But now, standing beside her brother, she realized something. She wasn't just surviving. She was rebuilding. And for the first time in a long time, she felt like she was finally stepping into her own story. Mia's days became a cycle of growth and exhaustion. Between finalizing the branding for Rooted Design Studio, hiring a small team, and networking with potential clients, she hardly had time to think about Ryan. But he was always there, lurking in the shadows of her mind, a ghost of the past that refused to fade. She told herself she was done with him, that she had moved on. But then came the lawsuit. A thick envelope arrived at Liam's penthouse one morning, delivered by a uniformed courier. Mia had been enjoying a rare, quiet breakfast when the doorman knocked on the door. Liam took one look at the envelope and cursed under his breath. What is it? Mia asked, her heart thudding as she set down her coffee. Liam handed it to her. Open it. Mia's fingers trembled as she tore the envelope open, her eyes scanning the dense legal jargon. Then, her breath hitched. He's suing me, she whispered. Liam leaned forward. On what grounds? Mia swallowed hard. He's claiming I unlawfully transferred joint marital funds to myself before filing for divorce. Liam's face darkened. That's complete bull. The only money you took was what you legally owned. Mia shook her head, feeling the panic rise. He's saying I withdrew money from our shared accounts before leaving, that I stole from him. Liam snatched the papers from her hands, scanning them with a sharp, calculating gaze. He has no case. The money in your personal accounts was from your own work before you were married. And even if you did take something, he spent years controlling the finances. If anything, you were entitled to more. Mia clenched her fists. So why is he doing this? Liam's expression turned ice cold. Because he's losing control over you. And men like Ryan, they don't handle that well. Mia wanted to believe Liam was right, that Ryan had no real case. But the thought of stepping into a courtroom, of having to relive their marriage, of facing him again, it made her stomach churn. Liam must have sensed her fear because he softened slightly. We'll fight this, Mia. You're not alone. Mia exhaled shakily, gripping the edge of the table. She had built so much in these past few months. She wouldn't let Ryan take it away from her. She wouldn't let him win. The news of the lawsuit spread quickly. It wasn't just a petty divorce dispute. Ryan had gone to the press. Articles popped up overnight, twisting the story to make it seem like Mia had manipulated him, taken money from him, and then run away to her billionaire brother. Entitled housewife or calculated opportunist, one headline read. Liam's phone buzzed nonstop. Clients called, friends texted, investors hesitated. The media frenzy was brutal, painting Mia as a gold digger who had abandoned her husband as soon as things got rough. Mia sat in her office at Rooted Design Studio, scrolling through the articles with a hollow feeling in her chest. They didn't know the truth. They didn't know about the nights she spent crying alone while Ryan gambled away their savings. They didn't know about the emotional manipulation, the years of feeling small. They didn't know about the affair. But Ryan was the one controlling the narrative now. Liam stormed into her office, tossing a magazine onto her desk. "Have you seen this?" Mia sighed. "I've seen all of it." Liam's jaw was tight. "He's trying to ruin your reputation, and he thinks he can get away with it because you've been quiet." Mia looked at her brother, exhaustion weighing down on her. "So what do I do?" Liam's voice was firm. "You fight back." That night, Mia sat on her bed, staring at the ceiling. She thought about everything Ryan had done, about the way he was trying to destroy her again. And she made a decision. The next morning, she called a lawyer, and then she called a journalist. It was time for the truth to come out. Mia sat across from Olivia Pierce, a seasoned journalist known for uncovering high-profile scandals. They met in a quiet cafe, far from the public eye. But Mia knew it was only a matter of time before the story spread. She had spent the entire night crafting her words, making sure she was ready to fight back. No more silence. No more letting Ryan control the narrative. Olivia leaned forward, her notepad ready. "Mia, I appreciate you trusting me with this. Are you sure you want to go public? Once this story is out, there's no turning back." Mia exhaled slowly. "I'm sure." Olivia studied her. "Ryan has painted you as a gold digger, an entitled housewife who took his money and ran. But you and I both know that's not the truth. So let's start from the beginning." Mia clenched her fists, steeling herself. "Ryan controlled every aspect of our finances. I didn't even have access to our accounts. He would give me a monthly allowance. His words, not mine. And if I asked where the money was going, he'd get defensive. I later found out he was gambling and investing recklessly." Olivia jotted notes quickly, her brows furrowing. "And what about the infidelity?" Mia's throat tightened, but she pushed through. "I found out at a routine doctor's appointment. I was 6 months pregnant, excited about our baby, and then I saw a charge on his credit card for a 5-star hotel. He had booked a suite on the same day as my appointment. When I confronted him, he didn't even deny it. He said he deserved happiness and that I had let myself go." A flicker of anger crossed Olivia's face. "And yet, he's suing you for money?" Mia nodded. "That's what makes this so absurd. Ryan was the one who drained our accounts, lied, and left me humiliated. And now that I've moved on, he suddenly wants to play the victim." Olivia's grip on her pen tightened. "Mia, do you have proof of the gambling, the financial control, and the affair?" Mia reached into her purse and pulled out a folder. "Everything is in here. Bank statements, text messages, even the hotel receipts. I kept it all, just in case." Olivia flipped through the pages, her expression darkening. "This is more than enough to dismantle his entire case. Once this story runs, he won't just lose public sympathy. He'll lose any legal leverage he thinks he has." Mia's heart pounded. She wasn't just defending herself. She was exposing him. Olivia placed her notepad down. "This is going to go viral. You need to prepare yourself." Mia nodded. "I'm ready." The article dropped 3 days later. The billionaire's ex-wife speaks out. The lies behind Ryan Carter's smear campaign. It was everywhere. Online, on news stations, on social media. People rushed to Mia's side. Women who had experienced financial abuse flooded the comments, sharing their own stories. And Ryan? He was destroyed. Within hours, his lawyers tried to settle the lawsuit privately, desperate to make it go away. But Mia refused. She wanted this fight in court, where he couldn't hide behind his wealth and influence. Liam's phone blew up with calls from investors, many of whom were pulling out of deals with Ryan. The board of directors at his company called an emergency meeting. His reputation, once built on charm and deception, was crumbling. And then the final blow came. A whistleblower, one of Ryan's former employees, came forward, revealing that Ryan had been embezzling funds from his company. Within a week, he was under federal investigation. Mia had been prepared for a fight, but Ryan had handed himself his own defeat. The courtroom was packed. Journalists filled the gallery, cameras clicked outside, and the tension was thick enough to cut with a knife. This wasn't just another high-profile divorce case. This was a reckoning. Mia sat between Liam and their attorney, her posture calm but her heart racing. She had spent 3 years preparing for this moment, but now that it was here, the reality of it all hit her like a tidal wave. Across the room, Ryan sat beside his lawyer, his usual cocky demeanor replaced with barely concealed panic. His reputation had imploded over the past week, and this trial was his last attempt at salvaging whatever was left. The judge entered, and the courtroom fell silent. Ryan's lawyer stood first. "Your Honor, my client seeks a fair and equitable division of assets. Despite the media circus surrounding this case, we believe Mr. Carter is entitled to compensation, as he was the primary financial provider during the marriage." Liam scoffed under his breath, but Mia didn't react. She had expected this argument. Her attorney, a composed yet ruthless woman named Elena Grant, rose from her seat. "Elena Grant representing Mia Lawrence, Your Honor. We dispute the claim that Mr. Carter is entitled to compensation. In fact, we argue that he owes my client damages for financial abuse, infidelity, and defamation." A murmur rippled through the crowd. Ryan's jaw clenched. The judge gestured for the trial to proceed. "Elena," the judge said, "you may present your opening arguments." Elena nodded and stepped forward. "Your Honor, for years, Ryan Carter maintained complete control over Mia Lawrence's finances, ensuring she had no access to their marital wealth. When she discovered his infidelity during a prenatal appointment, he discarded her, leaving her pregnant and financially stranded. Instead of showing remorse, he embarked on a campaign of character assassination, spreading lies that she was a gold digger. However, what Mr. Carter did not anticipate was that Mia kept every receipt. Ryan shifted uncomfortably. Elena continued, flipping through documents. "We have bank statements showing his reckless gambling. We have hotel receipts proving his affair. And we have witness testimony from employees who suffered under his leadership." Ryan's lawyer quickly stood. "Objection, Your Honor. This is a divorce case, not a criminal trial." The judge adjusted his glasses. "Overruled. The financial misconduct is directly tied to the division of assets. Proceed, Ms. Grant." Elena smiled, a predator sensing victory. "Thank you, Your Honor. Now, let's talk about Mr. Carter's recent financial issues." She handed the judge a confidential report. "Mr. Carter claims he is entitled to my client's assets, yet we have proof that he is currently under federal investigation for embezzlement." The courtroom exploded in whispers. Ryan's face turned ghostly pale. The judge's brows furrowed. "Is this true, Mr. Carter?" Ryan's lawyer fumbled. We decline to comment on an ongoing investigation." The judge sighed. "Then I strongly advise you to reconsider your client's demands before we proceed further." Mia exhaled, her hands steady. This was it. Ryan was cornered. He turned to his lawyer, whispering frantically. His arrogance had vanished. After a moment, his lawyer sighed in defeat. "Your Honor," the man said reluctantly, "my client is prepared to withdraw his financial claims against Mrs. Lawrence." Another wave of murmurs filled the courtroom. Liam smirked. "That's what I thought." The judge nodded. "Very well, given the presented evidence, the court awards full financial independence to Mrs. Lawrence, including the assets in question." Mia's breath caught. It was over. Ryan had lost everything. The judge continued. "Additionally, based on the defamation and financial harm suffered by Mrs. Lawrence, Mr. Carter is ordered to pay $2.5 million in damages." Ryan sputtered in disbelief. That's ridiculous. The judge silenced him with a glare. "Mr. Carter, you should consider yourself lucky this court is not handling your embezzlement charges. My ruling is final." Gavel slam, case closed. Mia closed her eyes, letting relief flood through her. She had won. Liam pulled her into a hug. "You did it, Mia." As Ryan was escorted out, his face crumpled with humiliation. His empire was gone, his money drained, and his public image ruined beyond repair. Mia walked out of the courthouse with her head held high. For the first time in years, she was free. Mia stepped outside the courthouse into the crisp afternoon air, the weight of the past 3 years finally lifting off her shoulders. The sunlight felt warmer, the city noises less overwhelming. She was free, and for the first time in a long while, she truly felt it. Liam walked beside her, his broad shoulders exuding victory. "Now that's what I call justice," he smirked, tossing his car keys in the air. Mia chuckled softly, shaking her head. "I still can't believe it's over." He wrapped an arm around her shoulders. "Oh, it's over, all right. And Ryan, he's finished. His assets are frozen, his reputation is in shambles, and his company is crumbling. That fool will be lucky if he can afford a subway ride next month." Mia wasn't the type to gloat, but there was a deep sense of vindication in knowing Ryan was facing the consequences of his actions. No more fearing his retaliation. No more sleepless nights over legal battles, no more hiding. Liam looked at her closely. So, what now, sis? Mia exhaled, looking out at the busy city streets. Honestly, I don't know. I've spent so long fighting, I never thought about what comes after. Liam gave her a knowing smile. Then let's fix that. Come on, I've got somewhere to take you. Mia raised an eyebrow. You and your surprises. You'll thank me for this one, Liam promised as he led her toward his car. An hour later, they pulled up in front of a modern high-rise overlooking the waterfront. The building was sleek, luxurious, the kind of place that screamed fresh start. Mia frowned. Liam, what is this? He grinned. Come on. She followed him inside, the private elevator whisking them to the penthouse level. When the doors opened, Mia was speechless. The apartment was stunning. Floor-to-ceiling windows, an open-concept living space, marble countertops, and a view that stretched all the way to the ocean. Liam, she whispered, turning in awe. It's yours, he said simply. She froze, staring at him. What? I bought it for you, Liam said, slipping his hands into his pockets. Well, technically, I put the money in your name and let you buy it. You need a place where you can finally breathe, Mia. No ghosts, no bad memories, just a home. Her hands trembled as she took it all in. I don't know what to say. You don't have to say anything, he said softly. You deserve this. Tears welled in Mia's eyes, but this time they weren't from pain. They were from overwhelming gratitude. She walked toward the glass doors leading to the balcony, stepping out into the cool breeze. The ocean stretched endlessly before her, the golden hues of the sunset painting the sky. This wasn't just an apartment. This was a new beginning. She turned back to Liam. I don't deserve you, you know that? He chuckled. Yeah, you don't, but I'm stuck with you anyway. Mia laughed, wiping away a stray tear. Thank you, Liam, for everything. He shrugged. That's what brothers are for. Besides, I can't have my niece growing up in some basic place. She's going to have a waterfront childhood, princess treatment and all. Mia's heart clenched at the mention of Emma. Her daughter was her world, and this was going to be her home too. A place where she could grow up without shadows looming over her. Mia took a deep breath, feeling stronger than she had in years. I think I know what's next. Liam raised an eyebrow. Oh? She turned, determination flashing in her eyes. It's time to rebuild my life. On my terms. Liam grinned. That's what I like to hear. The next morning, Mia stood in the vast, sunlit space of her new apartment, sipping coffee as Emma played with her toys. For the first time, she felt like she was exactly where she was meant to be. The chaos was over. The scars remained, but they didn't define her anymore. Mia Lawrence wasn't just surviving. She was thriving. Mia stood in front of the large windows of her penthouse, looking down at the city that had once swallowed her whole. The skyline stretched endlessly before her, bathed in the hues of an early evening sunset. 3 years ago, she had been a woman betrayed, abandoned, and lost. Now, she was a woman reborn. Her empire-rooted design studio had skyrocketed in just a few months. Her work had been featured in major publications, and high-profile clients fought to have her brand their companies. She had built herself from the ground up, yet today wasn't just about celebrating her success. It was about closing a chapter she never thought she would. The knock at her door came exactly at 7 p.m., just as she expected. Mia turned, her expression calm yet unreadable, and made her way to the door. As she opened it, there he was, Ryan, her ex-husband, the man who had once promised her forever, only to betray her in the cruelest way possible. He looked different. The arrogance he used to wear like a second skin was gone. His suit was cheaper, his once perfectly styled hair messy, and his once proud posture defeated. Mia, he breathed out, his voice hesitant, almost as if he couldn't believe she was real. She simply stared at him. What do you want, Ryan? Ryan swallowed, shifting uncomfortably under her gaze. Can I come in? Mia studied him for a long moment before stepping aside. Make it quick. He walked in, his eyes scanning the luxurious penthouse, the elegant furniture, the floor-to-ceiling windows, the artwork lining the walls. Everything about her screamed success. She had built a life that no longer had room for him. Ryan turned to face her. You look incredible. Mia crossed her arms. I didn't invite you here for compliments. Ryan exhaled, his hands trembling as he ran them through his hair. Mia, I messed up. I know that. And I don't expect you to forgive me. But I needed to see you. To tell you that No, she cut him off, her voice calm yet firm. You don't get to come here and suddenly feel regret, Ryan. You didn't just cheat, you destroyed me. You left me humiliated, pregnant, and alone. And now you think showing up here changes that? Ryan's jaw tightened, shame flashing across his face. I don't expect you to forgive me, Mia shook her head. What do you really want, Ryan? He hesitated before finally dropping the act. I lost everything. His voice was barely above a whisper. After our divorce, I made some bad decisions. The business deals fell apart. My friends disappeared the moment my money did. And the woman I left you for, he let out a bitter laugh. She cheated on me, with my business partner. Mia watched him silently. For the old Mia, hearing this would have felt like vindication. She would have relished in seeing him suffer the way she once had. But the woman she was now? She felt nothing, no hatred, no satisfaction, nothing. Ryan sighed, running a hand down his face. I don't deserve anything from you, I know that. But I wanted you to know that I regret it. Every single day. Mia tilted her head, studying him. She wasn't cruel. She wouldn't kick a man while he was down. But she also wasn't naive. She stepped closer, her voice quiet yet firm. I don't hate you, Ryan. You don't have that power over me anymore. Ryan blinked, clearly not expecting that response. But, she continued, her gaze piercing, I also don't care about your regrets. What you did to me, it changed me, but it also made me stronger. So I want you to walk out that door, knowing one thing. I never needed you, not then, and certainly not now. Ryan exhaled sharply, nodding. He had come here hoping for closure. Instead, he got the truth. He turned toward the door, hesitating for just a moment. I'm glad you're doing well, Mia. You deserve it. She didn't respond, because she already knew that. As the door clicked shut behind him, Mia let out a slow breath. It was over, truly over. Later that night, as she sat on her balcony with a glass of wine, her phone buzzed. Liam. How did it go? Mia smirked, typing back. Mia, exactly as expected. He's nothing but a ghost now. Liam's response came instantly. Liam, damn right, proud of you, sis. She set her phone down, taking in the night sky. She had come so far, from a betrayed wife to a fearless CEO, from someone who begged for love to someone who knew her worth. And now, her future was limitless. She smiled to herself, because Mia Lawrence had won, and nothing could ever take that away from her. The end. If this story moved you, let us know in the comments. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more powerful stories. Stay tuned, because every story has a twist you never see coming. Twist you never see coming. Twist you never